Hello and welcome to Powerhouse Leaders. I'm Stefana Johnson, and today my guest is Ariel Starbird. She is the founder and head coach of Holistic Health and Fitness Coaching, LLC, out of New York City. She provides holistic health and fitness coaching programs as well as spiritual energy healing services. And she is focused on helping folks heal from chronic health challenges, trauma from the past, so that they can perform at a whole new level. She's been doing this since 2005. She's helped over 3,000 people. She's been working in more than 30 states across the US, as well as 12 countries. And her goal is to assist every person to self-realize for themselves on the path of self-mastery and the attainment of total health of their spirit, their soul, their mind, and their body. I'm all for that, and I'm excited to have her as my guest today. Welcome, Ariel.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
You know, I've sent you what I go through, so we're just going to get right to it because I really have some questions I hope we can get into. The favorite quote or mantra that you have that is a guiding mantra for you today?
So, if you asked me 10 years ago, probably something different, but today I'll say it is no fate but what we make. This is from the character Sarah Connor from the movie Terminator 2. And it's a little cliche, but I still love it. It's still true, still accurate. We're the masters of our own destiny. Self mastery is key to healing.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. And folks, I'm just going to give you foreshadowing. I'm going to have Ariel on again, and we are going to talk about NDEs, near-death experiences. Not this time. So I just want to plant that seed and foreshadow because this woman is a badass spirit warrior and a fellow healer that has some really cool things to share. But today we're going to just do our baseline Powerhouse Leaders interview so that we can get some nuggets that you can use immediately. All right. Second thing, what is it that led you to your specialization?
So it was, it's actually kind of a very long, convoluted story. But essentially, when I was younger, I had a lot of health challenges, and the conventional medicine had no answers or cures for. I had really severe chronic back pain, a lot of allergies, food and chemical sensitivities, really common for my generation, but it was all kind of new for the older generations, like gluten, like you know that but now almost everyone has these sensitivities, but when I was a child it was all still new. So for about 13 years I went from one type of doctor or healer or expert to another, and I went through the medical ringer, the new age ringer, the alternative ringer, you name it, because I was just looking for answers and solutions for me. And most people just didn't have them. I realized it's not, most people in every field are pretty mediocre. They just don't know, or they only know like so much. They haven't connected the dots. And so for 13 years, I was going through all these things, and I learned a lot actually, about the different healing modalities and what they can do, as well as their limitations. So I got an education. I feel like that maybe that was the cosmic purpose for that ultimately, even though going through that didn't give me the solution, but in a way it educated me and it made me a good researcher. And then I eventually figured it out on my own through doing my own research and trial and error, and figuring out kind of my own medicine from within myself, and my own recipe, my own protocol, my own everything, and that solved the problem. But the root cause was actually heavy metals. A lot of it was heavy metals and certain other poisons, including radiation. Like I remember, I was doing some tests with a holistic doctor, and he looked at my test and was like, "You're a very expensive lady. How'd you get all this uranium?" I'm like, I don't even know. Fukushima, I guess. I mean, some people are just very, very sensitive, and we just absorb this crap. Um, so essentially, but it was mainly from like mercury amalgam fillings and from vaccines. And then it took some years and a lot more research and a lot of money to detox all that out. And but the one thing that kind of was very interesting to me through all that, a lot of the other stuff was logical, but here's an interesting piece that I discovered on my own, because I was in middle school and high school, I ran track, and I really enjoyed it. and I was trying to compete at that time, and I was pretty good, but because I was having all these health issues, it just it didn't work out. I couldn't continue to compete at the level that I wanted. And but I always really enjoyed fitness. It was a genuine passion, and I liked it all. Weight training and yoga and running, and I would say the more challenging. I really enjoyed the challenging, the really physically strenuous forms of fitness. That's what I really always wanted. And I noticed that when I would have these really awful pain attacks, but I would go and I would run. I'd run a few miles, whatever it is, an hour, and I'd have no pain. I'd come back with no pain. And then after a few days of not working out, I'd have this pain again. And so that was clear to me that the fitness was part of the medicine. Whereas a lot of these conventional doctors were telling me the reason you have pain is because you run so much. I'm like, that makes no sense. It's literally the opposite. When I don't run, I have pain. Then when I run, I have no pain. It's like it was just so, and all kinds of other stuff that they told me, you should do surgery. You need to get on this medication. I'm like, medication for what? If you don't know what's wrong with me, why are you offering a medication? What is that supposed to solve? Like, how are you solving a problem if you don't know what the problem is? So it was just, even as a teenager, it would just became so obvious to me that conventional doctors are 100% full of shit. So, I just decided that I was going to do it on my own. I was going to figure it out, and eventually it took a long time, but eventually I did. So whatever they said, I did the opposite, and that's why today I'm happy, healthy, strong, and free. And but in all seriousness, it was really holistic medicine, which is totally different from conventional medicine and natural medicine and indigenous healing modalities that actually restored my health and vitality. And I found those on my own too. It's a whole other interesting story how I found those, because it was not linear. And but they repaired my body naturally. And they repaired my body's natural ability to repair itself and regenerate itself. And so I healed myself by learning some of those modalities. And so once I found all of these different alternative healing modalities and I put them together in a way that made sense for me, then I could see how a lot of other people could really benefit from this, and how a lot of other people, they're not as resilient as I am. They're not as bulldogish. Like, if I'm really interested in something, I will just go after it and after it. And a thousand times I will try something until I find the answer. Most people are just not like that. They'll try a few times. If it doesn't work, they quit and they go with what's convenient and easy. So as a result, I found some things that most other people just don't find. But I realized it's not entirely their fault. And if it was presented to them in a more palatable, approachable way, they would really benefit from it, and it could help a lot of people, especially young people. They don't have the resources necessarily to do all the stuff I did, or the understanding of how to do it. So I designed a holistic health coaching program that really combines a lot of pieces of the stuff that I learned that I knew helped me. And so now, after 20 years, almost 20 years of working with people, and there's over 100 5-star reviews and success stories on my site. Of course, I've worked with a lot more than that, but I used to not collect reviews. That was my fault. I was like, I helped this person, and off they go. They're good. But I realize it's really important, because those success stories are a really good example for other people to see that this is possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Your story is one that I've heard, very similar to my own. Multiple people who have gotten into healing, and now there's so many people that want to be life coaches now, because we're seeing that situation where their lives are out of control. People are off purpose. They don't know what their own values and their own vision are. But you and I both know that whole trajectory has been directed, and our own health has been undermined for decades. So we're having, as humans, to play catch up on all of this. And so that bulldoggedness that you described, of you getting in there and learning and finding out, and not just taking answers at face value, but going, let me think this through. That does not fit into that. And that is what's key and crucial. And I love that is what sets you apart, that you do have that dogged spirit of like, let's wait a minute. Let's unpack this a little bit more and check in on what's really going on, so that we can get to the true answer. And I know that is the only way to get the true answer. If we go and try and crack that egg from the outside, we're going to kill the life that's inside there, right? It's got to come from the inside out. And that's where our true powerhouse is and lies. So I love when guests come on and we're resonating on that. And there's things that are interesting enough here to look at. You mentioned the your own journeys, and I'm wondering, because the next question I have is a crucial early mistake, right? You were on your journey, and you went about your journey, but was there a major pitfall or a key challenge that you faced, and how did you learn from that, so that our listeners can get an opportunity to hear how someone like you, from your experience and expertise, not only went through that period of struggle, but also learned from it?
Yeah, really good question. So I would say the biggest mistake is trying to help everyone just because I know I can. Like I can see the vision of how I can help someone. But I've had clients who had really, truly horrible experiences, and trauma affects people differently. So sometimes people will go through trauma and it'll actually make them more positive, stronger, more resilient, more virtuous. And they become a type of person who's very sincere and genuinely are on a path of healing and enlightenment. And it's in a way very easy then to help them because they're so hungry and they're willing to work, and it's great working with them. But some people, I guess maybe trauma really breaks them, or it may be that they actually kind of become negative as a result, and they sort of they use their victim status to vampirize other people, and they only want power over others. They enjoy their vices. They don't actually want to change, and these people are more interested in propagating the image of being victims and soliciting a sort of a narcissistic type of attention, which is a form of vampirism. And I used to see a lot more of the people like this in my practice, people who want to talk endlessly for years about how horribly they were treated by everyone and the ways they've been victimized and harmed. And I'm not saying that wasn't real, that didn't happen, but it's like, how many years can you spend talking about it? Eventually you got to move away from that. You got to move into health and healing and move into a healed state, and then do your mission here, whatever that is. Usually that's helping other people, but it's like they never seem to quite get there. They seem to always be relishing this place of victimization because they're actually getting something out of that. And after, sometimes you don't know in the beginning, they kind of look the same, and then after a while you begin to see who's moving out of that very willingly and who just keeps going back to being a victim, or these bad things just keep happening to them. It's almost like, are they creating them on purpose or subconsciously just so they can keep being in that victim state?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the key. That's right there, because it's serving them. And in terms of this impact, being able to observe that, what did you learn from that piece, especially because now you're a leader in your field? And how has it influenced you since being a leader, and people do come to you? And as you were saying, you said vampirism, but I haven't heard it that way. It's vampire. Is that what you're saying? Vampire, essentially that vampire energy, the sucking energy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to confirm that was when you were saying that, because vampirism, that's cool. It's not cool, right? But it's that the way you said is like glamping, vamping, but that is the energy you're talking about, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So in terms of looking at it from a perspective of a leader and really wanting, as you're aligned with the piece that is helping people discover their health so that they themselves are taking the responsibility for their well-being across the board, body, mind, soul, business, relationships, etc. So in terms of how that's influenced the leader you've become, can you describe a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. First of all, not being like that. and what it means is that you have to take 100% responsibility. See, people like that, they need to learn that there's a lot more satisfaction in being of service to others and helping other people grow and develop than tearing other people down, manipulating and vampirizing other people. And they need to realize it doesn't matter what their past was. They think that like just keep going through it and through and through it is what's going to benefit them. And that's not true. They can just move into a healed state and start all over. And then they can be free and truly connected with their higher power, and they can do their mission and realize themselves in a positive way. But so I talk about those people, but really, in a holographic sort of way, in a spiritual sort of way, we all have aspects of us like that. So finding them and not being like that, being 100% responsible, being a good example, leading by example always, because people are much more likely to do what you do or the opposite of what you do, but not what you say. And so to teach people how to fish, don't give them fish. Maybe in the very beginning, if they're truly in a first aid type of situation, yeah, maybe you'll give them a fish, but ultimately that doesn't serve them. That can actually harm them. It keeps them in an infantilized state if you keep always treating them like they're a child and a victim. They have to be given the opportunities to prove themselves and to show that they are capable and that they can find medicine within themselves and given the opportunity to mentally, emotionally mature and become independent. So not to foster dependence, and which is very different from how how the system does it, because the system seems to always want to prop up failing people in systems and give them infinite support, infinite help, and it actually corrupts them more. It makes them worse. And
yeah, because that's the purpose. I mean, that's the purpose,
absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting because I mean, really, I tend to attract people that are leaders or wanting to become leaders and step more fully into their power. So if there was some advice that you could offer up to maybe to an up and coming leader or somebody who's getting into whether it's a leader in holistic healing and health, and because I think we need, especially now, we need more of these. We need more people out there that are healing and have knowledge and have skills. And so those that are just beginning, and in fact, I saw on your website, you were talking about how you help professionals who are out there in the field of, whether it's first responders or people that are out there healing and helping. They also need that support. They need leadership. And so there is this beautiful synergy that can get created, but there's also this separation because you and I have very similar parallel services, right? But I don't look at you or other people that I've had on as competitors. In fact, what I feel is that it's like we're creating this connected web of healing for the universe. And you mentioned the holographic universe, because we know anything that we put out thought-wise, thought's energy, right? Our words are their energy. So in doing that, what would be something that would support, or that you would say to a new or up and coming leader or someone coming into this path?
Wow, there's so many things, but one common, I think, problem that leaders and people in the helping professions have is if they're very, very caring and they're out there serving the public, they often really neglect certain aspects of their own self-care protocol. And I've had people that they just don't. They figure someone else will take care of them, but it never happens. So it's really critical to have really good, regimented self-care protocols. If it's not regimented, it's chaotic, and chaotic means it's destructive. That's just the reality. There is such a thing as creative chaos, but when it comes to health, chaos is not is not good. If you take your supplements now and then, you eat healthy now and then, okay, you have no health. So those foundations of health, you have to have them, and they can never be compromised. A lot of times people compromise them to help someone. Usually it's like, especially family, that, okay, don't do that. You never compromise your foundations of health, never compromise your values, never compromise your principles, because you'll pay for it, maybe even with death. I mean, it's like if you don't take care of your health, I mean, very soon you're not going to be able to take on all that stress. So that's number one, self-care. And then two, it just, the connection with higher power. A lot of people at some point, sometimes innocently, think that they can do everything by their own power, and it's not possible. You have to have a strong connection to a higher power, especially because we live in duality here. There's good and evil. And the higher you go within your evolution and development as a positive person, the stronger the evil you will encounter. And if you don't have a strong connection to a higher power, you're going to get wiped out. And this happens, or you're going to get tempted and taken down that way. But in one way or another, you're going to encounter and face some challenge. All the masters did. Like Jesus spent 40 days in the desert and he was tempted. And then, in the Buddhist scripture, that talks about how Buddha says, I was besieged by demons when he was fasting and meditating, and the demons came to him and tried to mess with him. So in all of the sacred literature, we see that when a person really wants to reach that pinnacle of spiritual purity and enlightenment, you're going to face an opponent of equal or equal or greater strength. And if you don't have a strong connection to higher power, you're just not going to make it. And so that's really, really critical to always be cultivating that. It doesn't have to be a specific religion, although for some people that really serves them. But for me, it's a spirituality, my own personal spirituality.
Beautiful. I love it. Yeah, that's crucial. That is absolutely the foundation. And I would say that should be the number one. I always say to my, I'm my own first best client, and then hiring people like you and having people around me that are able to see things that I cannot see. This is what true powerhouse leaders, how they maintain and lead longer, stronger, is that, and that's the name of my book, that is all about self-care and mastering habits. It is really key that to tap into that higher power and to know that, as you were saying, the spiritual piece, that divine connection is part of our powerhouse, right? That is how we can generate more power to help more. And as you were talking and saying how we'll help other people and not take care of yourself, and then a lot will justify why it's okay to go and do that. But right there is something to look at. That needs to be healed, because that is really the crux of why people don't catapult or get over that get up to the other side of the wall to become true powerhouse leaders and to do everything that they're here to do, whether it's to lead a major company or whatever it is that they're here to do, right? Because they hit up against that. And the piece of someone else will take care of me is, I think, that cookie that has been presented here. Just take this pill, just take this shot, and everything will be fine. Because people don't want to look at it. It's like even with the biohacking, there's so many, this biohacking, that biohacking. It's like, there are no shortcuts, folks. You can't, right? You take a detour and the detours always end in a dead end. The shortcuts are a dead end, right? Type of thing. So I'm curious as we wrap up, if there's a go-to book or anything else that you want to say along those lines, just thinking about how, if a powerhouse leader is hitting up against something, what could they do to catapult themselves? Is there a book, or is there something that you use to catapult you to the next level?
Well, so I've studied so many different books on so many different things. I mean, probably in the last decade, it's more of the martial arts philosophy that I'm really most interested in. So if I can mention three books, so the first I really liked, just personally, it was 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene. This will help you to cultivate strategic thinking. So it's it says strategies of war, but it's strategies. How do you accomplish? How do you solve a problem? How do you win in a situation? A lot of people become hyper emotional and reactive in a crisis, especially women, and this leads to bad decisions and failure. So women need to learn to intellectualize their emotions and live strategically. Another book I like is Striking Thoughts by Bruce Lee. Some useful philosophy of mindfulness and balance in combat, but these ideas can be applied to any life or business challenge. Sorry, I'm running today, so my throat, all that, whatever it was that I was inhaling, is in my throat. So, and the third book that's really, really important is The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel A. van der Kolk, I believe his name is. And this will help you to understand how to heal deep-seated trauma and free yourself from the bondage of the programs of the past for yourself or your clients. it's like a classic in the healing field.
Those are awesome. Thank you so much. Fabulous. See, it's always so much fun to get new book recommendations. I didn't know that one about Bruce Lee. I can't wait to get that one. Super, super fun. Okay, Ariel, do I get a promise that you'll come back and talk to us about those, as I'm reading in your bio here, near-death experiences that you've had multiple? I mean, I totally want to dive into that, but I'm going to respect your time, and I will close with contact information, how people can find out. And folks, you can actually go to her website and read about some of these and her personal experience. She's very transparent, very open. She has an amazing newsletter. I highly recommend you get on her newsletter. It's really, really cool. She always has some fun nuggets in there. And cool. Okay, so share any information with us on how they can contact you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yes. So my website is the best way to contact me, holistichealthcoachingny.com, or they can just look up my name, Ariel Starbird, and they'll find me online.
Awesome. I will definitely have that in the show notes, and we will let folks know how to reach you, and we'll have the names of those books in there again. Fantastic. I thank you so much for your time, and we will sign off. Bye for now. Thanks so much for listening, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.